Hello, guys. I am Shane Davis, 20-year comic book veteran. I'm here with Yanzi Lynn, and we are talking once again about something we like to talk a bit on this channel about, and that is cancel culture. Cancel culture in the American comic book industry. This has been something that's been plaguing the industry for years, and it has an effect. It has a couple of effects, but we're getting to the time where it's actually becoming a conversation now. Mark Millar had a handful of comic artists and on his Millar Time YouTube channel. And this is a little snippet. This is Carrie Andrews. You may be knowing from Iron Fist and a couple other books, X-Men, Ultimate X-Men, stuff like that.
And right now we're in a moment in time where like rejection can destroy your life. Like if you're canceled, if you're publicly humiliated, if you're shamed, you will lose your job, you lose your income, you lose your family, you may go to jail. Like all these things, it's such a high stakes. It's a weird, like I don't think life has ever been more high stakes socially. I don't think we live in as much like civil strife as we did through the civil rights era, that sort of thing. But we live in such a fucking war of social tyranny, social conflict, social like danger. Like I feel like even doing a podcast with some friendly chums here. I say the wrong thing, my life is over. It's a weird state of mind. And I think for some people, for most people, the natural response to that is to, well, I better just say nothing. I better do nothing. I better not make anything. But I think actually the better response, the more helpful response is to just fuck you. I'm just going to do it.
I think the cancel.
Yeah. So, and there's more creators that kind of weigh in, but they have different viewpoints. And Carrie's is the one that to me seems most relevant at where we're at, because you could say examine what cancel culture is, like where are we at, the effects it's had. See, that doesn't really matter anymore. I think it's more about where are we going with where we're at with cancel culture in the future. I think trying to analyze what's happened in the past, it's like spilt milk. It doesn't really matter anymore. We can't really fix it. We can't really undo it. Nobody's going to call Warren Ellis back up and give him his job again. The reality is nobody's perfect. There's this thing in comics, and it started with mainly creators. I think Tess Fowler was one of the first to really execute cancel culture against Brian Wood. But the idea of somebody like trying to get with somebody sexually, or can be a number of things. It can be something somebody says. It can be saying who you're wanting to vote for. It can be politics. It can be whatever. The reality is like cancel culture has the effects it's having and will have on comics right now is like Carrie said, it's a high risk. Working in comics, thinking about it's a high risk job that you can just be canceled on social media, that nobody's going to hire you again. Your name's going to be dragged through the mud, all of that stuff. Why get out of bed? You love comics that much, guy? You love comics that much that you're going to be dragged through the mud and by what? Peers that maybe want your job, or they just need the clout. It's a high risk, low reward. Very few people make an above middle class salary working in comics. And I actually don't even like calling it middle class, because somebody might have a good year and they may have bad years right after. There is no job security in comics. So you think about getting involved, getting out there, putting yourself out there to the public, getting your name out there, all that stuff, working on the greatest characters ever. Somebody just wants to cancel you or set you up to be canceled or whatever. And it's all gone. It's all gone just like that. And it's not like you just quit getting work. You're actually demonized online. Obviously, this is after the Ed Piskor situation. More and more people are willing to start analyzing cancel culture for once. Now, why it hasn't happened, in my opinion, is because you have to believe all women. You have to believe every victim. And you're an asshole if you do not listen. Like, think about that. You can't even defend yourself in cancel culture. Kind of weird, right?
I think it's super weird considering that we've seen things like the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, where suddenly it becomes like, maybe we cannot believe all women. Now, Warren Ellis is another great case of that as well. Now, think about it. Warren Ellis was cancelled for the crime of hitting on too many women. That's it. That's his entire crime. Now, that is sleazy. It's very sleazy for a man to be, talking all these weird things and having women write his name on their bodies and so on and so forth, in hopes that someday he will give them a job. Like, I'm sorry, who's Warren Ellis again? Is he a publisher at Marvel?
Freelance writer. He never really had the pull to give anybody a job. Did he
But
have
you get my point. He was cancelled because he decided to talk sexy with a bunch of women. He didn't even commit a crime per se, and he lost what he lost his Castlevania gig and all that stuff. He is also basically they stopped publishing a lot of his works for a while, right? They even took
right?
away his gig at DC, and now slowly some of his kind of trickling back in. But you watch once he gets a too big a gig, they're gonna say, "But what about what he did to all of us?" You know?
Yeah. The other end of the cancel culture thing, and we like to talk about it a bit on this channel, is after you've canceled somebody, you get a little bit of clout and a little bit of respect. It just makes no sense to me, by the way. I'm having to explain what happened in the American comic book industry. Other publishers will then hire you for work. This is again, I really don't know this person, right? But this person or work that they've done. Do you want to tell people?
Oh, I see it now. Written by Eisner nominated writer Alex de Campi. Now, hang on a minute. Alex de Campi, that name is very familiar. Wasn't she like named in numero uno?
Probably the one thing that that's read the most that her name appeared in was Ed Piskor's suicide letter.
Yeah, she was like number one in that whole letter. She was the very first person that he chose to name.
All right.
So you think that someone says that, hey, I hold you responsible for driving me to suicide. You would think that people would be like, oh, yikes, I don't want to be associated with somebody who drove someone to suicide. But nah, she gets nominated for Eisner's, for Ringo's, and oh boy, here's a brand new book deal from Dark Horse. Yay.
And she's going to be sitting in the same room for the Eisner Awards as Ed Piskor's family because he's nominated also. This is a real thing happening in comics. It seems like everybody can't get their head wrapped around or nobody wants to address it or acknowledge it. I mean, some people are starting to come out and acknowledge it, but the industry as a whole, I mean, I hate to say this type of reward for somebody actually says, hey, go out there and cancel somebody. You'll get a publishing gig. I just don't know. I mean, I want Alex de Campi to get all the work in the world. I before anybody takes something I say out of context. But I also don't understand the message of this. I just think this is a really weird what's going to be month with San Diego Comic-Con next month and onward. But it's just so weird. Like I can see the industry reacts to cancel culture, but not the way they should. Nobody ever pumps the brakes and says, I don't know, can we actually see the DMs before we start ripping things away from Ed Piskor? Like it just cancel culture has it's no authority. It's very much like a vigilante. It runs at the speed it wants. It's due process, everything. It skips all that and goes right to execution. I think it just needs to become shamed, cancel culture. I think that's where it has to go in the future. Because right now, the reality is the American comic book industry, if Marvel or DC had to do a reboot, they do not have the new talent to do it. They don't even have the old talent. Because it's a goddamn dangerous business to be in if you're not the right color, meaning you can't be white. If you're heterosexual, that's problematic. If you're a man, that's kind of problematic too. God forbid you're a Christian. It's really problematic to be a very good artist and want to work for Marvel and DC. It's almost suicidal, I would say. I know I wouldn't return to working at Marvel and DC right now, but I'm also doing my thing with crowdfunding, so I don't really have those issues. But to me, I walked around at Heroes Comic Con last week and beautiful time. A lot of old comics were being sold. And I hate to say, I didn't see anything Marvel and DC has put out in the last 3 years sitting on the showroom floor. Right now, people haven't really acknowledged this, but the American comic book industry is publishing stuff that people don't even care to set up vendors set up at a Comic Con. They're setting up old comics. They're setting up collections of old comics. I'm talking runs like Infinity War and stuff like that. I couldn't tell you the great comic besides maybe Mark Silvestri's Batman run that the American comic book industry has done in the last 3 years. Like that's where we're at. It's running on some weird SJW autopilot, but nothing of substance is being produced. And eventually, some suit at one of these big corporation studios, and with the way DC Comics has been traded around between AT&T to Discovery, and before that, it was Warner Brothers. you really have to wonder, like, eventually it's going to get traded to somebody that says, why are we publishing comics? We got people out here bullying one another. We got people out here driving people to suicide. We got all these allegations. God knows if they're true. It just seems too much work. These characters are too valuable to let this system of not making money and not even producing books people care to read. We can't do it. That's where I feel the future's at. You guys let me know in the comments below. Also, Axcend Level Up is coming down next week. So if you're wanting to finalize your order, let's go. $123,000. Thank you guys for all the support. And I have to remind you guys, Inglorious Rex 3 will be our next big campaign. Inglorious Rex 2, smashing hit. You can also buy copies of Inglorious Rex 1 right now, and eventually maybe some copies of Inglorious Rex 2 on our site in a month or so. So definitely go check out 9livescomics.com. The description's down below. Hit like, subscribe, ring the bell for notification. And I'll leave you guys with a trailer for Inglorious Rex coming at you next month.
Stepped on the scene, I got greatness all in my jeans. Ain't no way that I can slow down. I'm laced up, look how I shake the ground. Can't touch the crown, but you can kiss the ring. Close your eyes and see how I live a dream. I'm too smooth, MJ with the lean. Don't be fooled, I came through with the team. This is over their heads, how high can it go? I'm too over the edge, got my eyes on the goal. And we right back at it, keep them right on their toes. Look at the way that I move, this is all that I know. Cause I got the drive, I put it in gear. Line them up, I don't see no competitor team. If it ain't first place, we really can't settle for it. Listen up, get ready for it.